So if you want to rent your...
Good morning, a brighter day is here. Good morning, may we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to hour number one of the Saturday special on your favorite radio station. And are we? Yeah, I'm not hearing a damn thing, but I guess it doesn't matter because we're on, right? We're on. Yeah, you get thumbs up. So who cares whether I can hear myself? What about you, Dave Michaels?
I can
you
hear myself.
Oh, okay. And what about you, Dean?
I am here. Can you hear me?
No, I can't. But I hope if everybody else can, that's all.
Red light's not on.
That's all that counts, right? Yeah. So yeah, just nothing here at all. But anyhow, worse things have happened to me. Okay, now I hear it.
Good morning.
Hi. It sounds like I just got up, but I actually was up at 6:30.
You haven't been to bed yet? Is that what you're saying?
Dave Michaels.
Good morning, MZ.
God, what a great show today you put on. You and Dane put on.
Dane's a fantastic host. Holy smokes, man! That guy's show is intense. Yeah, it's a fantastic show. If
it's a fantastic, intense show. I had a chat with Dane on the phone, a long chat with Dane this week, and he indicated to me that he would love to debate anybody who wants to take issue with him. Do you think anybody's brave enough to take issue with him? Because he knows his subject better than anybody knows any subject that I know of.
I'm going to say that nobody's going to take him up on that, MC, for various reasons, valid reasons. But I suspect that nobody will take him up on it. And even if they did, I don't think that you can win that debate with somebody like him.
Because he's dedicated his life for the last 20 years.
When facts, you look at studies and you interpret them certain ways, nothing's going to convince you otherwise. It's just human nature.
If you're wondering about what we're talking about, it's the Coming Collapse Q&A program that I think you did your fourth show or so.
Something like that,
Fourth or fifth show Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. right here on your favorite radio station.
Yes, sir.
The host is Dane Wigington from geoengineeringwatch.org.
Right.
And he has dedicated the last 20 years of his life to the study of climate, not climate change, but climate manipulation. Okay, intentional using technology to manipulate the climate. And whereas I used to dismiss those kinds of theories as not very credible and not worth paying much attention to, I have changed my opinion dramatically just over the last few years of observing intense change, dramatic change in weather patterns around here.
Sure.
So, I mean, how can you? It can't be natural that we're not getting any rain anymore.
It can be natural. As a matter of fact, we go through dry spells all the time. You look at the grand scheme of time, but that's not what I want. I'm here to talk about, MC.
I know.
I'm here to talk about the sale that's going on at the Dave Cave. Now, here's the deal. Buy your tangy tangerine. You like that? You like that?
Important things.
Buy your tangy tangerine at regular price. Everything else is 30%
I had mine this morning before.
Did you really?
I had it this morning.
You must feel like
morning.
$1 million.
You sound so echoey. Pull the microphone closer.
Every morning I get my longevity.
Now I blew my eardrums out.
Beware what you wish for.
Yeah.
Right. And, if Dane is right, then you probably only need to buy a few more canisters of tangy tangerine, then the world's going to end. But assuming that the world does not end, you should take care of yourself.
We hope, and I'm sure Dane himself hopes he's wrong.
Right, yes. I mean,
but
even if the world ends, you want to be healthy when it happens.
Yeah, right. You want to be able to outrun, I guess you wouldn't be able to outrun anything. But here's the deal. Buy your tangy tangerine at regular price. Everything else is 30% off, MZ. And I mean everything else.
Not everything, not more tangy tangerine.
Right. The tangy tangerine is not on sale.
And yeah. But once you buy even one can or one canister or one box of
The
stick
tablets,
packs.
or even the tablets.
Once you do that, it will qualify you to buy everything else at 30% off
it's like
for that visit.
If
Right?
you could think of it this way, MZ, when you buy your tangy tangerine at regular price, everything else you can get at wholesale. At the Dave Cave, you're going to get a huge discount, 30% off. That's a big discount. Buy your tangy tangerine at regular price. Everything else is 30%
I
off.
drink my longevity and I do my Wordle word every morning, and then I'm ready to go.
I don't know what that is, and I'm afraid to look at that because I don't need something else to get, to take up my time. But yeah, it sounds very interesting. People are really into that. I just don't have the time to invest in. I don't want to get started on something and then not have the time to finish it, so I don't need another.
Because Dave Michaels is a very responsible person. He doesn't start something that he is not positive he can finish.
And you know what? I want to send a shout out to Norm, MZ. This is just a real quick personal note. Norm came by and dropped off an old radio for me for a project that I have at home. So I want to say thank you to Norm. Fantastic radio, and we appreciate his listenership. He listens every day. I'm hoping that he probably is listening right now. So thank you,
We
Norm.
appreciate all the listenership of all of our listeners.
All of our listeners, yeah.
But especially the listeners who give us things.
Right.
And feel sorry for us and bring us food and stuff.
Well, and the ones who support us at events like the one in Felton.
And support KSCO.com.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Right.
Did we get a big one that we got? Yeah, we got. It's becoming very popular.
Good.
So
Support KSCO.com.
Support KSCO.com. You can make a one-time donation. You can do a monthly or a regular automatic charge to your credit card or debit card, or whatever. So there's all kinds of.
Can you demand that somebody be removed off the air if you donate enough money?
Yes, absolutely. Now, what that amount
Like
of
that?
what that amount of money is,
We'll judge.
We'll decide.
Yeah, we'll decide, yeah.
But so I mean, give it your best shot.
Right. All right, MZ. I'll be out in the
right.
Dave Cave till 2. Tangy Tangerine not on sale, but once you do buy it, everything else 30% off.
I think we already did the hour one intro. The good morning, a brighter day is here. Right? We already did that.
Yeah.
Okay, here now we do the promo. I haven't done one of these in a long time.
Now it's the
But
time.
when I get all wound up, like
Yeah.
you got all wound up and
Yeah.
you wound me all up,
Yeah.
this is what happens.
Sorry, folks.
Property to tenants in California and wish to sell that property, you may soon be prohibited from doing so on the open market without first being required to offer it via advance notice to certain, quote, qualified entities, unquote, that, according to California Assembly Bill AB 2710, I know you think this is a joke, but I assure you I am dead serious. There's more. Assemblyman Chris Ward of San Diego has authored a new bill, AB 1771, which would impose a 25% tax on capital gain produced by selling a residential property within 3 years of buying it in California. So Dean Sutton is quite offended by these proposed laws, and so am I. Are you? Decide for yourself by hearing all about it on the next KSCO special this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on KSCO. Now, because that promo got produced with only time to play it once on one of our live shows, it got all botched up. I mean, there's a lot of things about that promo that didn't get in there.
Well, there's more to say, but it sounded all right.
Well, yeah, but the guy, what you sent me this email yesterday at
Yeah, it happened quickly.
at 12:18 p.m. when I was out on a walk. Proposed laws restricting sale of rental properties. Just FYI. Please see proposed AB 2710. Are they crazy? This is you.
That's my email,
writing
that's right.
And you are typically the most non-committal person I know.
We got to tell these people who I am to start with, probably. Don't you think?
Okay, do tell. Everybody recognizes your voice. You're more recognizable than I am, for God's sake.
Top of the morning, people. I am Dean Sutton. I am a lawyer, but you could like me anyway. I do the Law of the Land show on Thursday nights from 8 to 9, the Lawyer Call-In Talk Show. I emphasize real estate and property law, and that's what I do. I do dirt, and I monitor this, try to keep track of all this crazy stuff that's happening. And there's 3 laws that came down all at once they're not, it hasn't been passed, they are proposed, but it's the kind of things that they're doing in Sacramento reflects what's going on. So I thought I'd flag it for MZ, and I'm sorry, folks, I got him all stirred up, and here we are. Good morning.
Yeah, and so I wrote the promo. You know what? I hate to take up extra time, but I need to read the promo the way I wrote it. But it was so long, Billy, when I went to record it, Billy said, this is 2 minutes, MZ. It's supposed to be 1 minute. It's twice as long as
I think George Bernard Shaw famously said, I'm sorry this letter's so long, I didn't have time to make it shorter.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, here, copy for. So this is what so if you rent your property to tenants in California and you wish to sell that property, you may soon be prohibited from doing so on the open market without first being required to offer it via advance notice to certain qualified entities, such as certain tenant organizations, community land trusts, and affordable housing trusts that, according to California Assembly Bill AB 2710, proposed by Assemblyman Ash Kalra, K-A-L-R-A, of San Jose, if that turns into law. Now, I know you think this is a joke, but I assure you I am dead serious. Getting through this red tape may well take a year or more. There's more. Assemblyman Chris Ward of San Diego has authored a new bill, AB 1771, which would impose a 25% tax on the capital gain produced by selling a residential property within 3 years of buying it in the state of California. So Dean Sutton, our esteemed attorney, host of Law of the Land, Thursdays from 8 to 9 p.m., is quite offended by these proposed laws, and so am I. Are you? Decide for yourself by hearing all about it on the next KSCO special this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on I Know We Want You to De-Stress and Have Fun, but we can't stay quiet about this radio, AM 1080 and FM 104.1 KSCO. That's what the promo should have said, and we had to cut out the meat of it. Well, but now that I've said it, that's what this show is all about.
Well, thank you very much. I'm done. I don't need to be here. You said it all. You said it well.
I really the guy who's proposed and written, what's his name?
Ash Kalra.
Ash Kalra. Have you heard of him?
Don't know him.
Okay, this is the first time I've
Says
ever.
Democrat San Jose would create.
Oh, he's a Democrat. Oh, wow! Surprise, surprise. What's the other guy?
The other two? Aiden Nazarian and Chris Ward.
Yeah.
Chris Ward's from San Diego, it says here, and Nazarian is from North Hollywood.
Yeah. Okay, and are they Republicans or are they Democrats?
Oh, they're Democrats.
They're all only a Democrat mind can come up with this sort of crap. Am I right?
I would imagine statistically most of them are, because most of the people in the legislature are Democrat and most of the proposals are from Democrats, but yes.
Okay. Now, back in 1978, okay, I was very frustrated that I would never be able to afford to buy real estate in my own hometown where I was born and raised. And right about then, there was a local measure, anti-speculation measure. I forget what it was, but it passed. And it basically said that if you buy your property, you may not sell it at a profit unless some period of time has gone by. I think it was a year. And if you did sell it, I forgot what happened. You got taxed all of the profit or all of the profit and more or something. So I had wanted to buy a property up on Escalona Drive in the area called Mission Gardens, where they had some really nice patio homes. They're still there. I was going to buy a place for like $85,000, live in it for a year, hopefully sell it for $100,000, for something, and eventually
fix it up and resell it.
Not even fix it up.
Okay.
Just let appreciation take care of it, and then buy another place that I was going to build a house on. But I didn't do that because I was. The law was going to make it impossible for me to conduct my plan as I wanted. So, of course, it passed by the voters. It was an initiative on the local ballot, the anti-spec, because people were upset, that speculators were just, making profits on the backs of the people who could not afford to be speculators, right?
Right.
So, in any case, it went through. I did not do that purchase, but it was the law, the local ordinance was soon after it went into effect declared unconstitutional. I don't know, I guess by the state Supreme Court or something. I can't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, now it's being proposed again, 40-something years later. And it's more draconian, I think. But what don't they ever learn? I guess they realize that things changed, and the scale gets tipped more. Justices and judges in this state
they change.
Yeah, and so just because something was declared unconstitutional 44 years ago doesn't mean it will again. Is that what's probably going on?
Well, that's
here?
probably true. Look at abortion, for example. I mean, just as an example, I don't want to get into that, but I'm just saying something could have been clearly unconstitutional or constitutional at the time, and people want to revisit it now.
Yeah. Well, Dean, seriously, I mean, I kid around a lot with you because you're a personal friend, and I kid around a lot with our audience and so forth, but I'm serious when I say, as a talk host on KSCO, it doesn't seem to me that you take a position on things very often.
I try not to rile up. I try not to be political. But on my show, I try to be accurate, try to be analytical, and not so much political.
Right.
But I'm here this morning, and I'm fired up, and I'm suggesting that people call their local state assemblyman, their local state senator, whoever it is, Stone, or whoever it is they have around here in the area, and say, these things are nuts, don't pass them. We might actually give out that I don't have the numbers handy at my fingertips, but I am actually politically kind of fired up to oppose these things. I can explain them a little better, but it reflects the problem. This stuff comes in cycles. There's times when real estate was very expensive, high interest rates in the 70s, very hard to buy, which you're talking about in the 70s, trying to buy and can't. And then it goes through economic slumps. And we went through the Great Recession, where they had all the creative financing all stacked up, and people had 5 houses with 5 mortgages, and all of a sudden that all collapsed, and then real estate went down, and you couldn't hardly give a house away. I mean, they were just really hard to find anybody to find a buyer, to be a buyer. That was 12 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And it's gone back up again now. Not quite sure why it's such a sudden, desperate market. My grandmother used to say people are making but God stopped making land a long time ago, and I guess it's just supply and demand. But there is a great supply and demand problem.
Well, and there's a rush against the finally quickly rising interest rates, very quickly rising interest rates. So I think that's driving it more than anything else.
They were very low, and now they're kind of leveling up and out. Yes, correct. But when the market gets that crazy, people get very desperate, and people get very desperate. There's more renters than there are owners. And they're trying to, desperately trying to do something, trying to protect themselves from rising. There's two things going on at once. One is the rents going up, and the other is the prices of houses going up. And there's been a big market move lately to have huge companies that, they got kind of burned on stocks, and they got burned on bonds, and so it's dawning on them that they're going to invest in houses. And large companies are just buying up every house they can find, sight unseen, and then, managing them, renting them, raising the rents, and raising the rents, and raising the rents. So there's a lot of state statutes and local ones as well, but state statutes that have been rent caps, limit the rise in rents. These are going at it from another direction. They're trying to just basically punish landlords. They're just taking the property values and the property interest of landlords and saying, screw you, and making it so hard. On my show, I've come to the conclusion the last, couple of years that if you've never been a landlord before and you think you just might want to buy a rent house and become a nice mom and pop, good-hearted, good landlord, it's tough. Don't do it. It's a business now. It's a tough business. It's very complicated. What used to be a one-page rental agreement is now 15 pages with, Megan disclosure laws and sex offenders, and you have to do this. Yeah, I mean, all these things that have to be in a rental agreement, and pamphlets about mold and pamphlets about all kinds of stuff. It's so complicated to do it right. You can't hardly, no matter how hard you try, you can't violate something somehow.
No wonder people who have owned their properties for many years are electing to keep them vacant and not even rent them out and not be subject to all these things that could cause lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit
exactly
after
right,
lawsuit.
yes. And then they're going to get, there's a proposal, of course, to tax them because they have the empty house. In Santa Cruz, there is a proposal to tax $6,000 per unit if you don't lay your head down on your pillow enough days of the year to make them happy, whoever them is.
Within the property. Yeah.
Within you got to stay in the house. If you don't stay in the house, then it's an empty house, and therefore you're being punished because you're not staying in it or renting it to somebody, and so therefore you get a $6,000 per unit tax. That's a proposal in the city of Santa Cruz.
You think that one's going to pass?
No.
But they're not going to put that to the voters. They would just do that on the city council, right?
I understand it to be an ordinance, a city ordinance, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, jeez.
See, there's regulation, there's prohibition. You can't, you shall not, period. Then there's regulation, and then there's taxation. And traditionally the governments can tax, and that's something they can do. They have the power to do it. They have a legitimate reason. They all get their political machines all cranked up and get people to approve it. They can do taxation. So that's kind of a way that they go at it.
Probably their preferred way.
Well, yeah, because just, people kind of forget that there is a right to property. Actually, one of the justices said, property doesn't have rights. People have rights. People have rights to property, to own and manage property. The Fifth Amendment to the Constitution says that, no property shall be taken without just compensation. Now, the bureaucrats, the people in the government, always read that to mean just some compensation. They stick another word in there. It means a little bit of something. But it means fair, full value. If they take it for a public use, if they want to take your land to put in a new highway or to widen the freeway, they can do it, but they have to pay you full value for it. Then you can have a jury trial on it even as to what the value is. But that's taking of your property for a public use. That's different than what we're talking about. Also, people forget the state constitution. California has a constitution, Section 1, Article 1, Section 1. All people are by nature free and independent and have inalienable rights. Among these are enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property. And, property rights are hardwired right into the state and federal constitutions, and the state agencies, city agencies, part of the state, are supposed to follow it. A person cannot be deprived of property without due process of law. That's Section 7. So against that backdrop, they don't just go at it head on. They come at it from the sides, nip at it, and chew away at the sides with these laws. Now, are they crazy? I don't know what the Latin is for "are they crazy," but that was my first impulse when I said this, when I read this. About 2710, this proposal by the guy from San Jose would say that rental owners are prohibited from putting their properties up for sale. It's an apartment or a single-family rent house until you've given advance notice to qualified entities. And that is tenants that are in the building, if there are any, the city, and somehow a series of tenant organizations.
So you have to get permission from your tenants.
Well, you have to give notice.
Yeah, well,
and
you do that anyhow, but not to get permission to sell your own property.
Well, basically, and if it gives them a chance to put a notice of intent to buy. I'm interested in buying your property. That's all it takes. And then they have so many days. It's 45 days to do this, 120 days to get financing, up to 160 days to get financing if it's multi-unit, like apartment building. And that ties the property up. And if if they don't put in the notice of intent of interest and they don't get the financing, then you can sell it to whoever you want to. But in the meantime, half a year's passed or more, and all of this is tied up, and the seller has to record and certify a declaration that they've gone through all this, and it's going to tie up title. Escrow guys are going to go nuts trying to figure out how to get clear title, how to ensure clear title, to make sure that all these little agencies that get on this list are given notice. So, and it says that if they have a substantially equal offer, then you're supposed to sell it to the qualified agency, to the tenant organization, whoever it is. And I don't know what substantially equal is, because all these contracts have different terms.
More lawsuits.
Yes, well, yes. Unfortunately, this is the Lawyers Unemployment Relief Act. When this gets going, it's just burdensome. It's ridiculous. It's not reasonable. It's not rational. It's just an attack on. Well, it's an attack on property ownership. It seems to reflect somehow. The old joke is that when you're spending somebody else's money, only the very best will do.
Yeah.
When you're doing something and you got a lot of pressure, I can't afford the rents, and I can't afford to buy a house. I can't afford the rents. Do something to punish the landlords, to keep them from being the effect of this is going to be is that a lot of people are just going to get out of the rental business. They might sell it to somebody to live in. Now, if it's a multi-unit building, that's different. But if it's a house, a rental house, it's just going to go off the market. It's not going to be available for rent. People are just going to say the heck with it, and they're going to sell it, get out of it, and go on. Pay some income taxes, grit their teeth, and do that. But just the hell with it. Just move on.
Yeah, I've been running into more and more people who have done just that, and this law hasn't become law. I mean, this proposed law hasn't become. How soon can it possibly become law?
Well, I mean, if they wanted to ram it through, that could be pretty quickly, I suppose. It's a proposed statute. It's working its way, I suppose, through the committees. They have been proposed. There's this particular statute, AB 2710, the one that says you can't sell your house without giving notice and all that stuff, it's rang a bell. There's a letter. I have a copy of a letter from, it's got a letterhead at the top with the California Apartment Association, California Association of Realtors, the Mortgage Brokers Association, Commercial Real Estate. There's a whole bunch of them. See about 10 of them at the top, including the California Land Title Association. People are going to have to try to figure this out. As a letter to Assemblyman Calra, and says we strongly oppose this. Oh, I'm not loud enough? Okay. We strongly oppose this because it's, for one thing, when you're going to talk about giving notice to all these people about a proposal for the sale, you have to give notice of all of the tenants' information. If you're a tenant, you should not like this at all either. AB 2710 requires a rental property owner to send a notice to each entity listed on the state registration system they're going to set up. And after the entity express an interest in the property, the entity, not yet under contract to purchase the property, must provide a notice to each tenant at the property expressing their interest to buy the property. So all of a sudden the tenants know that you're trying to sell the property. That creates all kinds of problems with the tenants. And you got to tell the new guy, the possible agencies, all the information about the tenants, the rents, who they are, theoretically, their financial ability, where they work, I guess, is what this is going to provide. And all of this information has to get turned over to the new guys. And then all that will do, of course, is organize, let people to know that the house is for sale, the apartment building's for sale. They'll start rent strikes, opposing the landlords, making it as bad as possible, making it as unattractive as possible to try to sell it. And it creates this unreasonable offer and financing timeline to buy the property. And so, there's extreme opposition. If anybody knows anybody who knows anybody, they should let their state assemblymen, state senators know that they oppose this one and the other two that we're going to talk about. It's just a slap in the face to property rights. There's just been a creeping, I guess I call it infection. I guess in the state laws in California, people complain about the rise of regulation and red tape. Well, this is a great example of it. Makes it harder and harder and harder and harder, more difficult, more expensive, more complicated just to evict a tenant now is so incredibly complicated. It takes, you used to do a summons and a complaint. Notice you've been sued. You didn't pay the rent. You got your notice. You got to get out. Now there's another form that has to go on top of that to go to court. It looks almost like a tax return where you have to go down through, check all these different boxes and all these different times to talk about the COVID rents and different time frames and things like that. So anyway, just briefly, let me tell you the other one. There's one's a 25% tax on recently purchased properties. Now this one, the idea of this, supposedly, this is AB 1771, 1771. And this is Chris Ward of San Diego. It's a 25% tax on the capital gain produced by selling a residential property within 3 years. So, in other words, it's against anti-flippers. If you buy a property, you sweat equity, the traditional American way, you fix it up, you make it nicer. If there's inflation, there's appreciation, but there's also increase in value because of your efforts and your money you put into it, and you sell it for a profit. They want to tax us with a 25% of all your profit to start with. And then it says tax revenue collected through this will go to, I love this, and whenever you have a new agency being created, it's the, quote, speculation, recapture, community, reinvestment fund, quote unquote. And then that's just a slush fund for the local governments. It's supposed to be distributed to local governments for schools, affordable housing, infrastructure, and transportation, which they don't have to it, but they're encouraged to spend it, for good things. How this is supposed to help tenants, I do not know. It has no effect one way or the other, directly or indirectly, to make rents lower or to make houses cheaper. It may be some more money to play with for schools and infrastructure and transportation.
Just make that government, period.
Well, all right. A slush fund to play with. Going to be a lot of meetings, a lot of coffee and donuts consumed, lots of endless meetings, and new agencies being created, staff hired just to manage and just figure out how to spend all this money. They're just going to be just delighted. And the last one is AB 1791. They have similar numbers. As they come down the assembly line, they get attached a number. This is 1791. This one really burns me. It requires a franchise tax board to report annually to the legislature the number of businesses that have paid this fee. And this is a $500 excise tax on all residential units in California, including rental housing, period. So if you have a rental property, you're renting, anyway, a room in your house, you're renting a rental property, you're renting your house out, an apartment building. Now we're going to have this opposing force coming at us with lots of new ADUs and tiny houses. California law has changed to encourage and require local agencies to allow lot splits and up to 4 units on a lot. Up to now, there's been one little Leave It to Beaver 50 style house with a big, huge wasted space in the front lawn, lots of lawn. That's a sore spot for me. I talk about occasionally. What's the number one crop in this country? It's not barley, it's not corn, it's not wheat, it's lawn. We spend more money and more time and more chemicals and more effort to raise this green crop of lawn and then come and cut it down and then put it in big trucks and black plastic trash sacks and haul it to the dump, haul it to the landfill. Lawn it's just a total waste of time. Now, I know lawn does fight smog and it fights this and it's good, but as a crop it's nuts, and as land use it's kind of nuts too. So anyway, there's a $500 excise tax on all rental units.
If you own a 24-unit apartment building, say, is it going to be, you have to pay $500 times 24, one per each unit, or is it one for the whole parcel? Not that it should matter. I think the whole thing is crazy. But what is the law as proposed?
It says per rental unit.
Okay. So if you have a 24-unit apartment, it'll be $12,000 that you have to give the government that you don't have to give the government now.
And what they're trying to do is they're talking about, business owns real estate, right? These evil, mean, rich corporations that are they're taking over their land and they're taking over the rental properties and they're fleecing and gouging the people that are rent. Well, in this section, business, quote unquote, section 3500-04-BE says business means a sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, or association. That includes just you, me, mom and pop rental apartment. They're a business because they're in the business of renting. That's why I keep telling people, if you're going to be a landlord, it's a business. You have to treat it as such. You have to get your rental agreements up to snuff. all new ones, not the old one that you used back in the 80s because it's not going to work. That doesn't have the requirements in it now that it's supposed to have. And then if you have to evict somebody, you have to do it right. It's a business. It's going to be a $500 excise tax. This is supposed to help fund the development of affordable housing. Now, how the hell is this supposed to fund the development of affordable housing?
It's going to be exactly the opposite. It'll fund the development of more bureaucracies within the government. That's for sure.
And at some point, it'll just say, it'll cause more people to kind of tip and say, I'm just getting out of the business. I'm just going to sell the place. What it'll cause people to do is good, decent landlords have property who are decent to their tenants and treat them right. They'll sell out, and then some large, Dutch corporation will come in and buy it instead, and that'll be the total bad, the heartless landlord instead. That's what they'll get, exactly what they don't want. Property is slipping somehow in all of the crush. I was looking for some quotes for this morning, and I looked up George Washington said, freedom and property rights are inseparable. You cannot have one without the other. Property rights, are important. They're written right into the Constitution, period. William Howard Taft, President and Supreme Court Chief Justice, said that next to the right of liberty, the right of property is the most important individual right guaranteed by the Constitution. You just can't crush property. You just can't run landlords out of business. You just can't red tape them and tax them to death. Till finally they say the hell with it, and they just, give up and go. I mean, it's almost like an Ayn Rand novel or something where, what was that, Regulation 640 or 2 or whatever that regulation was. It just runs people out of business. Samuel
Or
Adams
discourages them from getting into the business in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, rental real estate is still kind of the best thing going, period. It's better than stocks and better than bonds. You provide, first of all, you provide a good thing. It's a Martha Stewart. It's a good thing. You provide housing and shelter for people. It's a good thing. And you provide a place where people can live. You can deduct it. Right now, under current laws, you can deduct the real property taxes, all the business expenses of your rental property. You can deduct real property taxes. You can deduct mortgage interest. You can deduct, if you have to fix a new dishwasher, you can take that as a tax. You have to spend the money and fix the dishwasher, but then you can deduct it on your taxes. And you get amortization. You get to depreciate the building over a period of 26 years, give or take. And you can create tax deductions that way. Also, if it goes up in value, you don't have to pay taxes on the increase each year. Now, right now, real estate is going up crazy. It's going up fast. It's going up. It's going to create another bubble, and it won't last forever. And when it finally breaks, it'll come back down. But in the meantime, people are crying because their rents are going up and they can't afford it. I get it. I'm not heartless. I get the idea. And also the people desperately trying to buy a house, trying to buy their first house. They're desperate and trying to, and I get it. But these kind of wacky, I don't know what you call them. They're not even communists. They're not socialists.
It hurts the very people they're designed to help.
They're not thought.
It's like rent control.
They're not thought through. Well, yeah, that's another example of sort of the government interference into the contract, into the marketplace. Now, something is wrong. Maybe. Well, you tell me. What do you think? Is something wrong when we try to say that we trust the market, the invisible hand of the market, to control and handle things well? Is something wrong where there's just so much rise in demand, in price, in rents, and houses, and we're not making enough houses to go with it? Now, on one hand, people say we just need to build. Everything should look like Daly City. As you drive up 280, you look over and you see those ittle bitty houses that are just stacked up there like Monopoly.
Little boxes, the Pete Seeger song.
Right.
Little boxes on the hillside. Little boxes made of ticky-tacky.
That's exactly where things are going right now. On the other hand, on one hand, on the other hand, as I always say, President Harry Truman said, Lord, please send me a one-armed economist, because on one hand, we're going to say we're going to regulate land use. We're going to make it good for health and safety, and everything's going to be good and better than it ever was. Yeah, but there's not enough houses. There's not enough housing. Now, maybe there's too much of a crush in California. everybody, go west, young man. They did, since the Depression especially.
Now they're leaving.
Well,
so
fine.
It'll take care of itself, don't you think?
Yes, leave.
Yeah.
If you can't afford a place in Santa Cruz, maybe you need to get up on your hind legs and go somewhere else. I don't know where. Fresno, Bakersfield, Shasta, Nevada, Kansas, Tennessee. Get up and leave. You can afford a house there. You can live there. You got to just get a job and pay the rent. But the rents are less there. The houses are less there. The gasoline is less there. And the market, it's kind of slow and a little bit awkward. It's like moving a big tanker ship, slowly getting it to move with little tugboats. But at some point, people will say, it's cost too much here. It ain't working. People who are homeless, they say, well, I want to live here. Well, people in hell want ice water, too, my little grandma used to say. You don't have the right to live in Santa Cruz, this glorious, wonderful place, just because you want to. You got to pay your way. And if they can't, move. How about that?
What are you, racist?
No, but I am practical, and I'm a real fan of the truth, and I try to figure out, budgets at work, and it's not the job of the government to take care of the people. It's the job of the people to be responsible for the government. There are statutes and ordinances where they tell, the cities have to house the homeless and all that. But there's no moral or legal obligation, no constitutional obligation to support people. It's probably cheaper, I guess, to stick them in a motel room than it is to deal with them on the streets with all the heroin addict and the needles and all that. And I get it. These are attempts to try to deal with it, but yeah, I think, if you look at it kind of in a macroeconomic sense, at some point, California is going to become, now, California's a big place. It's the size of Italy. It's huge, okay? I have lived in places most people wouldn't want to live. And you get out in the deserts and some places around the state, there's a lot of empty land, okay? Problem is there's not enough water now. It's the other problem. With these new...
Pretty soon there won't be enough water here.
Well, that's exactly right. And this is
that could be by design.
This used to be a real drippy place. What happened to the fog? What happened to the fog? When I moved here, 45 years ago, there was fog, even in the summer, and it was great. You get up in the morning, it's like you're walking around in somebody else's dream. There'd be water dripping off the trees, and it would all be glistening, and there'd be sparkles of light and rainbow color. Summer and winter. There's no fog. I haven't seen a fog in years here lately, 3 or 4 years that I can remember. Rolling in, to feed the redwoods. I don't know where it went. You were saying earlier, you finally, obviously something's. I'm jumping around here all over the place.
It's okay.
But if you're going to talk about climate change, there is absolutely no doubt that the climate is changing. Now, you want to talk about what's the causation and how much, to what extent man has caused it, different question. But there's no question that things are changing and changing weirdly. I mean, the ice is melting. The European explorers were trying to find the way across the northern. They tried Hudson Bay and they got frozen up trying to find the Northwest Passage. It's appearing now. The ice is melting and they're getting through. And all of a sudden, the future is going to be up northern Canada and some of those places where that's all going to thaw out, and it's going to be the new place to go. Leaving the southern part of our northern North America pretty high and dry when it comes to water. We have droughts here and floods in the east. They have hurricanes and tornadoes and floods in Tennessee and Florida and those kind of places, Arkansas, crazy floods. And here we are, high and dry.
Right.
And they just keep building thousands and thousands of homes in Arizona for some reason. And I mean, they're building a lot more houses there. Houses are cheaper. People are moving there. But where they're supposed to get the water, I don't know. In the next 5 to 10 years, if this keeps up, you tell me, is this going to keep up, this drought, the way it is? God knows.
Geez, it scares the hell out of me. In case you're wondering, you probably know this. You're listening to the Saturday Special on your favorite radio station, KSCO AM 1080, FM 104.1, FM 95.7, and FM 107.9. And Dean Sutton is the man who knows so much about rental law and in California. A lot of people I know are just refusing to rent their houses because they don't want to be subject to all these insane draconian laws that they seem to be coming up with more and more every day. And so, should we open the phone? There's a bunch of people already who want to tell you. Should we?
You call, we haul. That's all. Let's talk.
All right.
Well, we got
now,
couple minutes.
David, I want to make Ken and Campbell called. It was online even before we started the show. Nothing against Ken and Campbell, but you didn't ask him what he wanted to talk about. We want to keep it to the subject.
I will check with him.
Why don't you do that? Okay. All right. That's good. And let's see who else will we take. Here, let me get the right mouse here, and take the next caller, which will be Rory in Watsonville. Hey, Rory, you're on with Dean Sutton, whom you can like anyhow, even though he's an attorney, and MZ.
Yeah, I play one on TV, but I'm not an attorney.
But I'm pumped.
No, quick question. Dean, thanks for coming in and speaking to these important issues. Do you know what happened to AB 1070 that came in either late 2020 or early 21?
No, remind me what that number stands for.
You remember that one?
No, remind me what that stands for.
Okay, it was Assembly Bill 1070. It was going to put the state of California in line. So if you had a large apartment owners that couldn't afford their payment anymore because the state said to the tenants, it's a pandemic, you don't have to pay rent. Okay, of course, the owner still has to pay his note if he doesn't own it outright.
Right.
So it put the state of California in line. First, right of refusal, state of California. Second, trust, all these nonprofit entities. There was a whole list of them. I encourage you. I can't find it anymore. It was proposed. I don't know if it became law. But these bills that you're talking about sounds eerily similar. They're coming at it from another direction.
Yeah,
so
these ideas come around every once in a while. They're periodically. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is my theorem on the case, okay? We've got a worldwide collectivist Marxist movement. Some of it's World Economic Forum with Klaus Schwab and all his toadies in Europe and the U.S. pushing to turn us into a non-ownership society. They want rentals. They want people to own nothing and be happy. That's quoting Klaus Schwab. Okay, so this isn't by accident. And what I would like to know, you being a lawyer, I want to know if there's a RICO statute being violated here, because is there collusion between lawmakers and their buddies in land trusts that stand to win if they can be first in line when you're selling your property? Is there collusion? That's what I want to know. Is the state of California colluding with their buddies and the nonprofits and the land trusts? These trusts, do they pay taxes? Do they pay property taxes? Do nonprofits pay property taxes? Do they pay them at the same rate? Well, these are questions that need to be answered on these things. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah, generally.
Yes and no. They are paying taxes, but
not at the same rate. Yeah, usually get a different rate for charities.
That's much lower, right?
Yeah.
Like what, 50%? Quarter percent?
I don't want to tell you because I don't know. Sitting right here, I could look it up and come back. But I can talk to you on Thursday and answer the question. But I don't know that. Well, you asked several questions.
I'll try to be back. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. RICO. Well, no. RICO is the racketeering federal statute to try to get it racketeering corruption. Yeah.
Operation.
And the this is all on board. There's nothing corrupt. There's nothing hidden about it. This is a legislature that's reflecting the pressure from the pressure of several unions or rental associations or tenant associations. They're just saying we're gonna tax the landlord. I mean, no, it's not a RICO situation. It's just politics.
Is it a Brown Act violation if they're discussing this with their friends in the nonprofits in these land trusts?
It could be. Yeah.
If they're discussing all these details not in a public meeting. Isn't that a violation of the Brown Act?
Well, you just made that up. I don't know if that's true or not.
They
For the listeners, the Brown Act is a state statute that says that public agencies, the county board of supervisors, the city council, on the boards, or the state legislature, they're supposed to do their business out in the open. They're not supposed to go in the bar and have a drink and decide everything and then come out and just announce it. This is the way it is. That's the Brown Act. Which is kind of the good old boys.
Yeah.
It used to be.
I didn't make it up.
No, I know. You go in the back room and have.
I didn't make it up. I'm just tossing it out there.
Have whiskey and cigars and decide it all.
Yeah.
So everything has to be done out in the open.
Yeah.
That's the Brown Act. So if that were true, then yes, it would be a violation of the Brown Act. But I mean, you just lob that in there with no. I don't know that that's true. That the legislature's doing.
Well,
that.
is there a young Hey, I'm just a thinking guy out here that owns.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm asking. Is there a young journalist out there that would dare and have the courage to maybe go look into it? It smells. You go back and look at AB 1070. It was in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, let me answer.
Everybody was freaked out, and here's the state of California say, you, Mr. Property Owner, you, Mr. Apartment Owner, I'm sorry you can't make your note because we passed a law that says your tenants, because of the pandemic, don't have to pay their rent.
Okay, that's different.
And by the way, we're first in line. We're first right of refusal. That means they get top billing. So say the apartment complex goes on the market and it loses 20, 30% of its value because it's the pandemic.
Right.
The state of California scoops it up. Or their buddies in the nonprofit area. I mean, it's a racket. That's why I called it. That's why I say RICO.
Yeah.
I think these people are working together behind the scenes. I really do. And I'll go, if there's a young journalist listening, you got your work cut out for you. Sink your teeth into this one. There's a lot of it. Dean and MZ, thank you so much.
Great.
Have a good weekend, and we'll be listening. I'll listen Thursday. All the best.
Great. Yeah. Bye. Yeah. Thank you, Rory. Here's Ken and Campbell. Yeah, Ken, you do want to talk about real estate law? Go. You're on.
Yeah, absolutely. I did have a really short note about the news provider on the channel. This is a very conservative station, and if you replay the 7 o'clock news that happened on Wednesday, you'd have to wonder how in the world is a conservative station playing a liberal news media operation. But they were basically stating on the news at 7 p.m. on Wednesday night.
Again, you're doing what I didn't want to happen. Okay, so get to your real estate law. Get to your real estate law question. Get to your real estate law question.
Yeah, I have that too. So the question about real estate is, if all parties, including the housing authority, including the all parties involved, the owner of the property, the management company, everybody signs up to a 12-month lease, and then just out of the blue, somebody at the housing authority writes some letter and says, "Oh, we decided to change your rent 2.5 times higher." I'm like, how in the world can you? Like, everybody signed a lease. Everybody did. I mean, it's probably going to end up in front of the federal judge, and you're going to say, did you not read the lease that everybody signed for 12 months? I mean, what else do you say, Dean?
Well, part of what you're talking about is the affordable housing sort of whole regime that's starting up, and that's where cities and counties, primarily cities, can get into the rental market, and they can say they're going to control it. Do we have a hard break at 11? We have
Yeah, news. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to do news here in a second. I'll come back and talk about that, where the cities get in there, and they set the rents, and they set the values, and it causes a lot of problems. In the old days, there used to be contract. There used to be the market. People would negotiate. Everybody knew exactly what was going on, who's on first, what's going to happen. And now it is these programs where the city artificially tries to keep things lower. They get into it, and somehow the city starts a whole bureaucracy to run rental housing. And yes, that is a problem.
So, okay, well, stay tuned. We're going to be at the top of the hour. News is going to catch us in a few seconds here, but we have another hour of the Saturday special right up until 12 noon. So stay with us. If you're on hold, we promise we'll get to you. This is KL.
Through Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Today, in the weather, high will be 75 degrees, light northeast wind becoming north, 10 to 15 miles per hour this afternoon. Tonight, clear with a low of 45. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high near 70. And light winds could gust as high as 30 miles 39 miles per hour. Sunday night, low of 42. Monday, 80% chance of rain. On the seas, there is a small craft advisory in effect on the Monterey Bay through Sunday afternoon. Today, west winds 10 to 15 knots with gusts up to 25 knots, becoming northwest 15 to 25 knots with gusts up to 35 knots this afternoon. Wind waves 9 to 10 feet. And now, KSCO News Talk time is 11:06. And now for hour 2 of the Saturday Special with your host, MZ.
Oh, MZ, that's me. That was my cue. Okay, so are we gonna? Well, wait a minute, Dean. I mean, we're not ready yet. I mean, okay, we have to do a few other house cleaning things here before we launch into. So look, extra better call screening this time. Okay.
Okay.
That guy, what's his name? Who Ken?
Yes.
Yeah, he did his best to hijack the show, and I should have just hung up on him because there's no way he could have. Anyhow, better call screening from now on, and if they lie about what they want to talk about, if they don't give you an answer that you feel is appropriate for the show, then just say, hey, call next week, or call during an open mic or something, because I'm just so tired of having the show hijacked.
Yes,
by
indeed.
people, okay, who are disingenuous. You know, he made up a real estate question.
That's
because
what he told me.
because he
Yes.
had to. Yeah. And he was doing it on the fly. I can't stand people like that.
Yes.
I think it's great if he thinks the news is too liberal, our top of the hour news, that's okay, but don't talk about it now. Don't waste time now doing that, just like I'm doing. Okay, Dave Michaels.
Hey, MC, how are you?
All right, how's the sale going?
The sale's going great so far. Sale's going great, but that means that we're selling product, and if you want to get your hands on, what you want, you need to get there now. Now, the sale's going to be going on all week, which is good news. But again, first come, first serve. The early bird gets the worm. If you want to get your hands on whether it's the Ultimate Daily Classic for blood pressure, Occutive for your eye health, Synaptive for brain health, the Healthy Start Pack, the Digestion Pack, the Blood Sugar Pack, we have all of that, including something for your pets, which is Arthrodex. Arthrodex is fantastic. It does
I've heard
for
a
your pet.
great ad for Arthrodex on the Food Chain Show.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Is that an ad that's been around for a while? I just happened to hear it today.
I've heard it probably in the past year.
It's
I've
a
heard.
great
It's
ad.
a fantastic ad, yeah.
Wow.
And it's a great product. It's one of those products, when you hear your dog barking, they're asking you for Arthrodex. When you hear your cat meowing, they're asking you for Arthrodex because it's good for cats and dogs.
That
and that's
is so-
just one of the things we
Dave
have on
speaks
sale.
dog. Apparently, he speaks a little
Yeah,
dog.
I can speak a little Chihuahua and a little
Yorkie.
a little Yorkie too. So get on down to the Dave Cave. Woof woof, meow meow. Down to the Dave Cave. Tangy Tangerine is the only thing that is not on sale. But when you do buy your Tangy Tangerine, it activates that sale price and you get 30% off of everything else. So again, MZ, Tangy Tangerine not on sale this week, but everything else is once you buy your Tangy Tangerine. I'll be out there till 2 o'clock today. KSCOhealth.com is where you place your order online. 218-5726 with your phone calls. That's 218-KSCO. And, of course, donate at supportksco.com.
I had my longevity this morning. First thing, so I'd have the strength to deal with MZ here today.
Boy, it sounds like it sounds like you're full of energy today, Dean.
You call, we haul, that's all.
All right.
I don't have to say anything. You fill up all the time. It's fantastic.
I'll see you guys later. I'll be out there till 2.
Thank you, Dave Michaels. Hey, I want to use the top of the hour here to share my discovery of a fantastic restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
It's been there for a long time. I think it's been there like 20 years. In downtown Santa Cruz. It's an Italian restaurant.
Let me know. What is it?
It's called Cafe Mare, M-A-R-E.
Oh, yeah, Cafe Mare, yeah.
Have you been there?
Many times. I enjoy it.
Well,
It's
why
kinda
didn't
got a
you
nice-
tell me about it, Dean
Well,
Sutton?
it's good. It's got the round glass. It's right there, right near where the old courthouse was, or the octagon, wherever that is. What do you call it? There?
the octagon. Well,
Right near the movie theater.
now everybody's
Mare.
going to be all confused. Okay, where Cooper Street
Right.
tees into Front Street.
Right.
It's right there, and it's a round building.
Yes, it's kind of low. You kind of walk down to it.
Yeah,
It's very pretty. It's
and
very
if
nice.
you remember
Music.
Hobie's, it used to be called Hobie's many years ago.
Okay.
Okay. So So I went to lunch there with Scott French, the owner of Los Animas Concrete. Okay. Great guy, good friend. And we hadn't gotten together for lunch in ages. And I said, let's go to lunch. And he said, okay, where? And I said, I don't know, you decide. And I'm happy he decided, because this is where he decides, one of his favorite places.
It's good. My wife loves it. We go there often.
And it's Italian, right?
Italian.
Yeah. And I had the most delicious fresh fish. People know my shtick. Fresh fish, but it was a special.
Okay, I'll laugh.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to laugh. But it was out of this world, delicious. You know, it had cubed tomatoes in it. It had olives in it. It had white wine in it, and it had so much protein. And the owner, JT, I think his name is.
My wife knows him. Actually, I don't really know.
Great guy, and highly recommend.
They have great pasta. We go there often. Sometimes they have music in there too, live music. It's very nice.
Yeah. So how did that escape me? I wonder how many other places there are like in my hometown in which I was born.
There's a number of places, little places that are just kind of tucked away that you don't really realize are there, and some of them are really good. This is a resort town, and we don't realize what we've got where we are. This is the kind of place people go to when you think about going on vacation somewhere. This is the place to go to.
Yeah, a memorable meal. You know, there aren't many places that put out memorable meals. You know, certainly post-COVID and even pre-COVID. But this was a memorable meal place. I can't wait to go back. So I highly recommend it to those who are listening. And be sure you mention that you...
Yeah, I don't know if it's Mare or Mare. Probably Mare.
But however, the spelling is M-A-R-E.
Right. So I don't know if in English it'd be Mare, but I'm sure in Italian it'd be Caffè Mare, I suppose.
Probably, yeah. 740 Front Street, number 100.
Yeah.
In Santa Cruz, okay? And they have dine-in and they have takeout and everything. So, someone on line 1 does not want to talk. Why don't they want to talk?
They wanted to report a power outage in Gonzales, so they didn't have a question, but they wanted to continue listening to the program. So,
okay. No,
if someone else comes in, I'll ask them to call back later.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, thank you for reporting the power outage in Gonzales, the person on line 1 who only wants to listen. Now, since we are officially entering hour number 2, well, we haven't officially done it. In order to officially do it, we have to play the official hour 2. Yeah, here it is.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Do you enjoy having the inside track as much as I do?
Sure.
Okay, good here. So we'll enjoy it together.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
All right, you can call us at 479-1080. That's in area 831. You can email us at mz@ksco.com anytime, but if you do it now during the program, chances are I'll read it. I'll definitely read it if you compliment me, because I thrive on compliments. And let's see, we're talking about new laws regarding rentals and property ownership and what you're allowed to, the amount of money you're allowed to make under proposed
laws so far right now.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. So anyhow, 479-1080, that's area 831, mz@ksco.com. That other voice you hear is M. Dean Sutton, the host of Law of the Land, Thursday evenings, 8 to 9 p.m., here on your favorite radio station. And we do have a full a board of callers here. Let's take our next call, who would be the one who's been waiting the longest. That would be Peg in Santa Cruz. Hey, Peg, you're on KSCO. Welcome. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, wait a second. I think Peg is supposed
Peg, are you there?
Hi, yes,
There
I'm
you
here.
are.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dean Sutton. What's up?
Hi, and I'm Michael Zwerling.
Well, I know you, Michael, and I've really enjoyed the show a lot. And
This is good. This is a compliment. This is definitely a compliment. So I'm happy you're calling, and I'm happy you're complimenting.
For those of you, excuse me, Peglet, just real quickly, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a lawyer, but you could like me anyway. I have a show on Thursday nights, 8 to 9 on KSCO. I invite you to come on over and listen. It's a lawyer call-in talk show. We emphasize real estate, but do other kind of legal things especially. People enjoy it. I enjoy it. Give me a try on Thursday nights, 8 to 9, Law of the Land with Dean Sutton. Go ahead, Peg.
There's no coffee, and the most important thing is that there's no bill.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it also keeps a lot of people out of a lot of trouble because they think they know what things are the law, and mostly they're fantasies.
Yeah, it's not what you don't know that really hurts you. It's what you think you're sure of, and you know that's not right. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
And, one of the things I've always enjoyed, I'm a real estate agent, and one of the things that I've always really enjoyed about real estate is the focus has always been in solving the problem.
Right.
And it's one of the things that we overlook very often in terms of our assumptions about things is Santa Cruz County is unique. We are probably one of the most diverse places in the world for biodiversity. These are the places where you find out how we're going to survive the change in climate, because this is how adaptation has been going on for millions of years. Our geology is very, very complex. Somebody told me that we were the leftovers from everything that they didn't use, and we've got large parts of the county where there's no water because of the geological structure. Mm-hmm. We have parts of the county that is ready to slide down on the other whatever is downhill from them. We have places where on one side of for instance, Pine Flat Road, you've got one kind of geology. On the other side of Pine Flat Road is something very different. So you can't assume because the neighbor's property is okay that you're going to be okay. So there's a lot of
Did you have a question
stuff.
For me? What's your question?
Yeah. But what are we going to do to change the way we approach this so that we're making informed decisions? Everybody's standing there yelling at each other, and nobody's working on finding systems that will get housing for the kind of people that can live here.
How are we going to approach this? This being what? More housing? Is that what you're saying?
Having housing that serves the population.
Now, as you know, right now the big push is to have more units per lots, and that's the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit or auxiliary dwelling unit, the tiny homes. SB 9 is a Senate Bill 9 is a new state law that requires local agencies to do what they didn't want to do, and that's to allow lot splits, to put up to 4 units on a house, on a lot that right now only is zoned or allowing for 1. And
that you can sell off individually?
If you do it right,
parcels?
you can do lot splits, and you can actually have them separately alienable. You can buy and sell them. Now, that on one hand, you're going to have a lot more people per square mile, in this which is the second smallest
density is going to go wild.
Yeah, the second smallest county in the state, only to San Francisco. And then on the other hand, you're going to have a hell of a lot more people per square mile. You're going to have, right now, Highway 1's a parking lot, how many hours of the day? You're going to have traffic, you're going to have parking, you're going to have water, you're going to have trash, you're going to have utilities, all of these things. That's the problem. Maybe this county just really wasn't designed to handle more people. Maybe they don't need to be here. Maybe they need to go somewhere else. Or maybe we need to suck it up and make a lot more problems with transit and utilities. What do you think, Peg?
Well, I think that one of the things you've left out on that list is the amount of land that is owned by state and federal governments, and land that can't be built on because of rare and endangered species. So we're even more impacted because you've got people that live on flat land out in the valley making decisions about a very complex place. It's like building a gas station in the middle of the Louvre.
Yeah.
And we need to change the way the decisions are being made, because it's just creating more problems. You're basically zoning children out of the picture with the kind of building that we're doing. And, you know, part of what makes a good community is that there's space for different kinds of families. You know, I'm old. It's nice to have something that works for somebody that's old. But it's also really important that you have something that's nice for a family with 3 or 4 kids, because, you know, that's our future. And it's just because one party's doing very well doesn't mean that it isn't important that all parts. It's like running a Swiss watch. You want all the pieces to be working.
We kind of California's kind of lurched around in different ways. We perceived a danger to the beautiful coast. So we passed the Coastal Zone Commission, the Coastal Zone Act, for example, back in the 70s. And it made it much, much harder, much more red tape, much more complication to get anything built or approved if it's within the strip that's within the Coastal Zone Act. So even if the city approves something, it doesn't make it approved until the Coastal Zone itself, the Coastal Zone Commission, also approves it. There's a recent case I just talked about Thursday night where the city land use ordinance has to be approved by the Coastal Zone Commission. The city's statute was approved by the Coastal Zone Commission, and then the city came back and changed its ordinance to ban short-term rentals, Airbnb type rentals near the beach. And they were gung-ho. They were enforcing it like crazy, and somebody opposed it in court and pointed out and won on the issue that the change in the city ordinances had not been approved by the Coastal Zone Commission on this land use element. And therefore, the change to ban the short-term rentals, the Airbnb, was not valid, and the city could not, you know, prosecute and get after this guy for the Airbnb. Now,
what is the status of that now, Dean?
Well, they... obviously, what all the city needs to do is to resubmit their land use laws to the Coastal Zone Commission to get it approved, and then it would probably be enforceable. The bigger picture, the bigger question is how much can a city restrict an owner's right to rent property? And the short version of it is that at common law, you could do whatever you wanted to with your property. You could rent it for a weekend, you could rent it for a month, you could rent it month to month, whatever you want to do. These new statutes, however, seem to be enforceable, seem to be constitutional if they restrict or limit. Some places they have permits you have to get. There's a limited number of permits. The problem is it's based on a health and safety argument that you get too many wild partiers, you know, that come in for spring break and go crazy and tear up the neighborhood. Anybody that lives near the beach has to put up with all this crap, and that's a reason why it can be regulated.
You know, the other thing is we look at how long it takes to build here. That by the time you go through all of the
permits and
the permits and things, then they've changed what the rules are, because the things that have to do with design issues change every couple of years and get tighter. And so we in all of this regulation, we're regulating the need for housing that is supports a community. That it's was some really good books that were written in the 50s and 60s about planned unit developments and planned housing. I think it started with Levittown.
Right.
And you can design for. My mother used to say that I was raised in a house that was designed for a dysfunctional family, because you couldn't move anywhere in the house without stepping over somebody, and there were 5 children.
Yeah.
So, and with a wide range in ages, but we if we designed for places to be livable.
You pointed out something that's really interesting. This is another just observation. What the idea is for decent housing has changed so much from the 20s. A lot of these little houses you see tucked away, these little teeny tiny houses, they were built in the 20s or the 30s or maybe before or after the war. They're small and they're adequate. People live there just fine, even raise families. It used to, but today, kids get out of high school, I guess 18, 19, and they want a house. They want a 3-bedroom house, and they want a pool, and they want a trash compactor, and you just can't live without these things. You just got to have all these things. And the idea of what's decent housing and what's good enough. That's an interesting thing about the new smaller tiny house movement, which is another law that's been passed. There's a big scramble to get organization and rules right now in the city of Santa Cruz, county of Santa Cruz. Everybody's working on this right now. In fact, I have a very interesting, very nice architect and design builder I've invited to become a guest speaker on my show, and she said she would in the near future. We have to land on the Thursday night. She would be very much worth listening to when she comes in on actually getting things approved at the city or the county level right now. And tiny houses, as they're kind of cute, but people look at them, they're kind of funny. They can actually be built in and built down on the ground, or they could actually kind of be brought in on wheels and just used in the backyard as a temporary housing. You hook it up with good utilities and all. And people are saying, if you combine the SB 9 and the tiny house laws, there's going to be more and more small, granny flats or extra houses. Now, Santa Cruz has a lot of those. The hippie houses built in the 70s, always had the little shed out in back, and the barn sort of became the place where people live. They're not up to code. They're not safe, but they're there, and a lot of people are renting, for tremendous rates. Now they're slowly being, weeded out, and they're not up to code, and they're getting red tagged, and you have to get rid of them, and it creates a real problem if you're trying to sell something and you've got a unit out back that's not up to code. So they're going to talk about bringing them up to code, having small units in the backyard, but now you're going to have to worry about parking and traffic and all the utility problems again.
Yeah, not necessarily, though, right, Dean, about the ADUs. It's my understanding, maybe it's wrong, that the new ADU allowance rules dictated by the state, not
required by the state,
yeah, required by the state, do not require you to have parking impact.
They've even said that for the ADU, they have what's called a junior ADU, which is where you mark off a place in your own house and allocate it, put up a wall, a separate door, or an ADU. They even said you could take the garage and make it an ADU, and they don't require that you compensate with. That's where you used to have your off-street parking. You'd have two cars in the garage. Of course, nobody ever used their garage for cars. Yeah. They'd shut the door and make it the rompus room or the family room, or that's where the grandparents would live. But that's what's going to happen. They're going to use the garage as a separate unit, and there's no requirement that you have other parking. There's going to be more stress and strain on the street parking on the street.
Wow. Well, Peg, you raised a lot of questions. I'm really happy you called the Saturday special. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I enjoy your program. Thank you.
Okay, take care. That was Peg in Santa Cruz. Here's Johnny in Monterey about commerce. Johnny?
Great subject. Great subject on the real estate. And the SB 9, you're absolutely right, because we're right now in the process of doing an SB 9 in San Jose. And we actually proposed to the city of San Jose, instead of doing a horizontal split, we do a vertical, which everything, we were at the city council with City of San Jose with Sam Liccardo when we presented it to him.
Things aren't confused enough. You're going to have to get creative here and literally operate out of the box by creating a vertical box. Go ahead. Interesting.
No, because what we were saying there, because we've gone over these rules, and I've developed stuff with Barry Swinson. He helped develop stuff in Santa Cruz. And we got to change the way we're thinking. It's not just, you're absolutely correct. No one's put anything together. The county's not talking to the cities. The cities aren't, everyone's in their own jurisdictions, and no one's even talking to each other. So we had them in San Jose change where you had to put good gas in the units anymore. City planning wasn't even told by the council when they changed the rules. Mm-hmm. Nobody's. I'm just telling you, you're totally correct.
It's a combination of new laws, new thinking, and then the COVID, too. Everybody's working from home, and you got all these people that used to be scrunched into their offices looking and talking to each other. They're all at home over their kitchen tables, and, there's been a huge lack of communication. Correct.
That's the one. Because do you think they're trying to do it? Because when we're doing the units like we're going into, let's say Santa Cruz, you're totally correct. Pacific Grove, Monterey, any of these areas, the zoning's so messed up because a lot of this wasn't ever thought through. San Jose was just farms that they put housing on. So there's no connection between, this is where we're going to put the infrastructure. This is where there's no, and even that's why we were talking about the vertical, and there's vertical versus horizontal.
Well, vertical is not exactly a new thing. We call it a condominium. I mean, if you own a square of air on the second floor, that's your condo, and an easement to use the stairs and use the parking. That's the idea, sure.
But the thing was the footprint. So we were trying to tell the mayor, you've got all these R1s everywhere. and San Jose is like mixed use. You know, some of them are multi, but they're not really fully figured out. That wasn't even the SB9 law. And we go, why instead of expanding the footprint, putting the granny unit at the back, just stack all these one-stories to two? Rezone them all. Everything on a major traffic thoroughfare. It would be an easier way to do it. And also, you already have the sewer. You already have the power.
Right.
Everything. You're not changing anything. You're just stacking higher.
Well, the other thing is, one of my soapbox items is this idea of just these big, huge front lawns that do nothing but just generate crops of grass that we throw in the dumpster, and
deplete the water system in a drought.
If you could use the front lawn, the best way. I mean, the Romans, the Etruscans, they've had the idea forever. You put the wall out in the front near the sidewalk. Paris. You go to Spain, they have the hacienda style. There's this very nice, attractive wall. You go in, and then there's a garden. There's an inside garden with buildings around it. It's pleasant. It's safe. It's wonderful. Kids can play on it. You don't go out in the yard because they don't go out in the yard. If as part of this, if they would use that front space, everything is sort of leave it to beaver, sort of the 50s sort of style with the houses at the back of the lot and this big huge green lawn all the way around it. If they would just use that space, that would make a heck of a lot of sense.
But also the other thing to think about is what we've been putting in, and we got away with it in Atherton and also up in Menlo Park. We've been putting roof decks on make use of every square foot. Yeah. Everyone's building these moderns now. I call them their $4 million Eichlers. Big monster. That's all they are. That stuff that was cheap back in. But take advantage of every part of the pig. And we're just what you said about that front. It should all be used. It shouldn't be grass there. Maybe get some to grow a vegetable garden or something, but not.
You can't use it in the front yard now. People steal it. You can't. I got a neighbor that put a garden in his front yard and came home. Everything just about ready to pick this crop, and they're all gone. They're stolen. You need some protection. You need a little wall around it or something.
Hey, Johnny, Johnny.
I'll let you go.
It said no. Wait. It says you're in Monterey. Are you just temporarily there, or do you live there?
We have property in Pebble Beach, so we're in Pebble, Rough Austin, and Silicon Valley.
And are you a regular listener to KSCO?
Oh, who's got the best singing voice? It's MC.
Wow, that must mean that you are.
He'll pay you later for that. Thanks.
Now I'm going to ask you the real personal question. Who are you really?
Who am I really?
Yeah.
We have a winery. You know that, Robert's Ranch. I've talked with you about stuff.
For gosh sakes. Wow. Yeah, okay. Yeah. There's just so much happening in my brain, and every day that passes, I'm less able to process it and remember it.
The Candyman. I still want to sing the Candyman song, on the jazz quartet.
Okay, I've never tried that, but if there's time in this show, I'll consider that a request. Okay, with Sammy Davis Jr. There's only 1, 2, 3 more callers. If nobody calls...
Folks, I'd like to encourage you to call in, and we have time. This is your chance to talk to a lawyer.
Dean, you got to sing and get the duet, okay? So you got to join in.
All right. Hey, thank you, Johnny. Appreciate it. That was a great call.
Always. You guys are the best.
Thank you. And I invite you to listen on Thursday night from 8 to 9, Law of the Land, where we talk about these kind of things. It's a call-in show.
I do listen to you.
Thank you.
Dean, we've met at Palermo in San Jose.
Ah, all right. Pleasure.
How cool. All righty. Thanks, Johnny. Take care. Here's, how come I pressed the button once and we lost 2 callers? But here's Dan in Pacific Grove. I hope the other caller is coming back. But go ahead, Dan. You're on about an attack on something.
Okay. Hello, gentlemen. Great discussion. Brief point, really, but it's right in our face. These proposals that Mr. Sutton has discussed before the legislature appear to me part of a broader wave of flat-out assault against private property with some predictable outcomes, which was mention of a drying up of rental units. It's creation of the process that would come out of these proposals, should they become law, looks a lot like a creation of a massive Soviet-style bureaucracy that could tie things up for years.
Yeah.
It's horrific. And, perhaps the objective is we wind up with the state owning the rental, sort of like the council houses in Britain. That's
or even the Third Reich. They said that the state, all properties owned by the state, controlled by the state. That sounds more like Third Reich than it does anything else. But go ahead.
Yeah, and we already have that, since we don't pay our property taxes, our rent to the government, they take it away, right?
Well, yeah, but there's always the tax man. There's always the tax man. You can't get around that.
Well, that's what we've come to accept. There's a tax man for everything, and we just accept that as normal. But this is wholly abnormal, and boy, does this need to be opposed. These
yes, and
measures.
I don't usually do political things, but I would encourage whoever you are, wherever you are, it just takes a phone call or just an email. Go online real quick and find your state assemblyman, your state senator, and shoot them an email. You don't have to have all the numbers right. Just say you totally oppose the proposed statutes to increase the taxes on rental property and the requirement that you have to offer your property to qualified people for sale. That's all you got to say.
Dean.
Yeah.
Oh, I certainly agree. Hey, thank you for your time. I'll continue to listen, okay?
Thank you, Dan, in Pacific Grove.
Yeah.
Dean, not to put you on the spot now.
Sure you are.
But I suggested this to you in our private conversation yesterday after you sent me the email that got me all wound up.
Yeah.
All right. Do people have to wait until a proposed idiotic law becomes a real law that's on the books to, get out and actively oppose it?
Well, to oppose it, no. You mean to file a lawsuit? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Why don't you be that guy and you'll be you'll be a hero to everybody? Why don't you do that? You have the skills to do that.
I can do
that.
It
wouldn't take you. What do I know? It might take you much more time than I think it would, but I don't think it would. I think you should be the guy to carry the ball, and you got the entire KSCO listening audience, except for Billy Sunshine, probably.
Well, if we had the right case,
you.
we could pass the hat and get a little bit to pay for it. I think that'd be great. No, you don't file lawsuits against proposed statutes. That won't get you anywhere. You oppose it politically.
Okay.
We have a political system. You stir up people. You get people to write. You get people to. I'm trying.
It sort of reminds me about they had a thing where they were talking about metering the wells, metering the private wells back in the mid-'90s.
Okay.
And I have never seen such an uprising of people who went to the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
Must have been right 95 or some.
Well, that's the way
circa
it works.
then.
Yeah.
And those supervisors
reacted to that.
Boy, did they react. They ran away with their tails behind their legs,
that's
because
their
I
job.
thought
That is their
they
job.
probably thought that they were going to be,
under the radar. It would just happen. Nobody
They
would oppose
probably thought that they were going to be physically injured or lose their lives. People were so angry.
Well, I'm not saying that.
I'm saying it because that's what I observed.
Well, I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting it either, but I'm saying that's what I observed in the 90s, and I haven't seen anything like that since then.
I'm trying to figure out why these guys would suggest such wacky things. Even in Santa Cruz, for example, rent control has been voted down, twice, 2 different times. People have not voted for rent control
I think 3 times.
I don't know how many times, but the point is, even in Santa Cruz, even with the rental problems and all, rent control has been voted. The people are not in for these kind of things. But these guys, and I say these guys generically, the people, they have agendas. They have re-elections every 2 years. They have things they have to fuss for and fight for. And I think they're just making waves. They're making, it's like politicians in Washington or anywhere else. They're just trying to give red meat to their people. And these kind of things. If the tenants are screaming, you got to do something, and they say, I proposed this and I proposed this, but it didn't pass.
I see.
It gives them cover. And the one thing I was thinking about...
CYA, cover your ass.
Right,
okay. All right. Well, that's all that's going on here.
I'll give them a little bit, if they're getting lots of pressure from the rental people, the tenants associations and things. I suggested this, I suggested that, I did the best I could, it didn't pass. I'll give them that, and they can kind of wink, wink. They know it's not going to pass, and I hope it's not going to pass, but it has to be opposed. All it takes for good people, for the bad people to win, for the good people to do nothing. We need to do something.
It would pass if people don't complain.
Yeah, so pick up your phone or
It'll
pick up your
get
on your computer and send an email to your state assemblyman and senator and say, I oppose these taxes on rental properties and the restriction on the sale of rental properties.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, next caller, Steve in Santa Cruz. Steve, you're on with Dean and MZ.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Honorable Dean Sutton. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I've got to tell you that I was in the Jack O'Neill Lounge last night with a friend having a beer, and there was a photograph up on the wall of historic Santa Cruz, historic downtown Santa Cruz, probably taken in the late 40s or late 50s. And you see this thriving, industrious, beautiful, crowded city with everything from soda fountains to pharmacies to, car repair, auto parts stores, you name it. It had everything. And you look at it now, and it's a shell. It's just a shell down there. It's at about 30% occupancy. The homeless dominate the cityscape. I've never seen a city or lived anywhere in my entire life that has devolved like this town.
San Francisco.
Detroit, those kind of places, yeah, but different reasons.
There's more feces per square inch on the sidewalks and streets in San Francisco than anywhere I know.
Well, Dean, I want to say that I lived and worked in Pacific Grove, and Carmel was my beat. That I served the city of Carmel for 3 years, and what I saw there was an orderly, well-managed city that had a plan, and I've known of Carmel and been visiting there for 40 years. It's never changed very much, but it's always had a plan and a vision of what they wanted to achieve. They don't plan to house all the homeless. They don't plan to build housing for everyone that can't afford it. They have a vision and a plan of how they want to live their lives, and they've been able to maintain that. Santa Cruz seems like it has no plan.
Well, it has a plan, but unfortunately, one of the plans is to make it to accommodate more and more housing for homeless people. My grandmother, bless her heart, now gone, used to say if you feed feral cats, you get a whole lot more feral cats. Now, I'm not calling homeless people feral cats, but I'm saying that's the promise. You subsidize something, you get a lot more of it. If you encourage it, you get a lot more of it. If you discourage it, people tend to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I always thought, how could even the far left, who make no sense to me, how could they justify open borders, which means an infinite supply of low-income people with no resources coming in here? And where are you going to put them? Are you going to put them in Santa Cruz?
Let me respectfully address that. This is another big Gordian knot that's a real problem. We have two signs up at the border. One says stop, and the other says come on in, help wanted. We need and want the cheap labor. We want and desire and need the young people. We've got schools that are drying up because there's not enough kids. And that's where the new young population is going to come from, is through immigration. We have this schizophrenic immigration federal policy. Can't get Congress to agree on anything that they should. George Bush, everybody several times have come up with several proposals that would have worked if they did it. But, the irony of the border is, yes, we need to secure the border, but the people coming in, we still need and want the labor. And that's the source of labor. That's traditionally been the source of labor, whether it's the Irishmen, my people, that Scots and the Irish that came off the boat or before the Civil War, or whether they're coming in now from wherever they're coming from. That's the source of new labor. And after a generation or two, those kids are going to be the valedictorians. They're going to own the block. They don't work at the 7-Eleven. They own the 7-Eleven or the block that it's on. That's the American system. It flushes from the bottom up.
Respectfully, Dean. Respectfully, sir. Though.
Yeah.
We have legal immigration that serves that. We let over 1.2 million, 1.3 million a year come in legally, and then another 1 million should come in illegally to fill that void.
Now, listen. If you're going to be reasonable and practical and rational, you're going to take all the fun out of this. I agree with you. You are right.
Okay.
Okay. I'll leave it. If I'm right, leave it at that. And MZ, do a song at the end, Monster Mash.
Well, wait a minute. I have Candyman all queued up. I've never done it before. You know,
Monster Mash should be your theme song. It should be your theme song.
Oh, jeez. Well, I don't think there's going to be time for both. I'm not even sure there will be time for one.
All right, kids, here we are. Radio KRAP. Going to bring you the latest singer, the singing of MZ.
Thank you, Steve. Here's Jim in Pacific Grove. Is this the same Jim?
No, I got cut off a while ago.
Oh, it is the same Jim. Sorry, we didn't mean to cut you off. Okay, you want to finish, right?
Yes, I do.
Go.
So there's a paper called Pacific Grove Press, and they recently had an article stating that the state regional housing needs allocation mandated requirement for the city of Pacific Grove, and this probably applies to Santa Cruz also, to plan for 1,100 additional housing units between the year 2023 and 2031. Is that a legitimate authority? And have you heard of that before? And what will the effect of that be on the? It sounds to me like the city's going to compete with the renter market here.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly where the source of that number came from. There are lots of different organizations inside the state government that does future planning, and they're trying to figure out where the population is going to be, how we're going to accommodate them, where the freeways need to be widened and sewers need to be put in and all that. So, yes, it's probably.
My question is, do they have the authority to mandate something like that?
They who?
The state regional housing needs allocation.
Mandatory allocate what? That houses be built?
Yes.
Mandate, I wouldn't say no, but what they do is they use the carrot and the stick. They say we'll give you tax benefits to any developer that wants to build low income or moderate income housing if it's within so many yards of a transit district, of a bus station or a train station. They get lots of tax advantages that make it. There's an incentive makes it inexpensive to build and more money to make. So they encourage it that way. They don't require it, but they encourage it.
I see. Right. Well, I like the theory where if you can't afford to live there, move someplace where you can.
I heard Dean say that on this program.
I said
you
it.
Heartless man. You.
I am. I have that. If you read the history of the United States, where they head west, and that's.
Now it's time for them to head east or south or north.
Well, maybe.
Because they're here. Anyhow, thank you, Jim in Pacific Grove. Well, I do have the Candyman queued up. I do have it queued up. So I'm going to try. No, I guess I can't do it because it says, please update your browser again. Okay. Let's have Tony on here, and maybe I can update the browser. Tony, you're on quick.
I live in a mobile home, MZ, and I listen to Dean's program all the time, and maybe I'll just save the question. I just want to use 10 seconds of your time to give you the ditty that replaces Michael Harrison's travesty that you had last It takes 10 seconds, and it uses the word that you just used 10 minutes ago, idiotic. So can I just give it to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1, I'm American. Number 2, I'm patriotic. Number 3, I agree I can be idiotic. But that doesn't make me mad or sad, because 2 out of 3 ain't
bad.
That's it. I want to make time for you to sing. Go ahead. Go.
Well, but the damn browser just isn't working here. I have to have Richard B. Luther II, our esteemed engineer, work on this.
Okay, well, I'll wait for it. You still have time.
You think so?
Easy.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, let's see.
And we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you for calling.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to try to do it this way. Candy Man karaoke. Okay. Candy. Let's see if this one works. It looks like it might be coming up. Good. But I have to listen to a damn ad first. I don't want to do that. Okay, here, skip the ad.
There you go.
All right, everybody, gather around. The Candy Man is here. What kind of candy do you want? Sweet chocolate, chocolate malted candy, gumdrops, anything you want. You've come to the right man because I'm the Candy Man. Who can make a sunrise? Sprinkle it with dew. Cover it with chocolate and a miracle or two. The Candy Man.
The Candy Man.
Oh, the Candy Man can.
The Candy Man can.
The Candy Man can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good.
Makes the world taste good.
Who can take a rainbow? Wrap it in a sigh. Soak it in the sun and make a groovy lemon pie. The Candy Man.
The Candy Man.
Oh, the Candy Man can.
The Candy Man can.
The Candy Man can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good.
Makes the world taste good. The Candy Man makes everything satisfying and delicious.
Oh, you talk about your childhood wishes. You can even eat the dishes. Oh, who can take tomorrow? Dip it in a dream. Separate the sorrow and collect a ball of cream. The Candy Man.
The Candy Man.
Oh, the Candy Man can.
The Candy Man can.
The Candy Man can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good.
Makes the world taste good. The Candy Man makes everything satisfying and delicious.
Talk about your childhood wishes. You can even eat the dishes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who can take tomorrow? Dip it in a dream. Separate the sorrow and collect up all the cream. The Candy Man.
The Candy Man.
The Candy Man can.
The Candy Man can.
The Candy Man can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good.
Makes the world taste good.
Yes, the Candy Man can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good.
Makes the world taste good.
The Candy Man. The Candy Man. The Candy Man.
Makes the world taste good.
The Candy Man. The Candy Man. The Candy Man.
Makes the world taste good.
The Candy Man. The Candy Man.
Makes the world.
Dedicated to you, Johnny in Monterey. Thank you for the request. There might be time for the Monster Mash, so I can honor both requests today, although one of the callers last week, one of the emailers said, please, MZ, no more than one song if you have to do one song. If you have to do one song. But well, here, I'll just enter Monster Mash, A-S-H, karaoke. Monster Mash karaoke. Let's see if it comes up, and let's see if we can play it if it does come up. All right? Looks like it's going to come up. Okay, but I have to wait for 5 seconds for the damn ad because it doesn't know who I am. Okay, now I can skip it. Okay, I think it's going to come up now. Sing King Karaoke. Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett. Working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. When my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise, a mash. He did the monster mash. The monster mash. There's no chorus. It was a graveyard smash. He did the mash. He'd caught on in a flash. He did the mash. He did the monster mash. From my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast, the ghouls all came from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrodes. They did the mash. They did the monster mash. The monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. They did the mash. It caught on in a flash. They did the mash. They did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula and his son. The scene was rockin', all were digging the sounds. Igor on chains, backed by his baying hounds. The coffin baggers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker Five. They played the mash. They played the Monster Mash, the Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash. They played the mash. It caught on in a flash. They played the mash. They played the Monster Mash. Up from his coffin, Drac's voice did ring. Seems he was troubled by just one thing. He opened the lid and shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist? It's now the mash. It's now the Monster Mash, the Monster Mash. And it's a graveyard smash. It's now the mash. It caught on in a flash. It's now the mash. It's now the Monster Mash. Now everything's cool. Drac's a part of the band. And my Monster Mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them buddies sent you. You can mash. Then you can Monster Mash, the Monster Mash. And do my graveyard smash. Then you can mash. You'll catch on in a flash. Then you can mash. Then you can Monster Mash. Mash good. Easy, Igor, you impetuous young boy. Mash good. All right, that's the end. Who else here? Let's see, who's next? Ben in Lomond. Ben in Ben Lomond, you're on.
Yeah. You mentioned if you can't afford to live in Santa Cruz County, move somewhere else where it's cheaper.
Well, Dean said that. I would never be so cold-hearted to say that.
Well, it's the truth. It's the facts. The fact is, though, that if you move to a place that's cheaper, they'll just raise their prices because real estate is like prices are based on demand. And Idaho is a perfect example. I've seen the governor of Idaho said, "Look, if you're from California, don't come here. We don't want you." And they want to keep it like that. Now, I've lived here for a number of years, and before 1971, you used to be able to buy a two-bedroom place for, $13,500, $17,500, something like that. So the point is, though, that the demand exceeds the supply, and so in my opinion, the real issue is immigration. We're letting too many people in, and there's just not enough room for them, and all it's doing is driving up the price of everything.
That, together with the fact that they, at least up until now, they've made it very difficult to build new units.
Right. But what Dean's talking about is all these laws that would not be even considered if there wasn't such a high demand. That's my point.
Totally with you. Hey, listen, thank you for calling. Thank you for being the last caller on today's epic Saturday special.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, God, what a guy. And Dean, thank you for...
Yep.
You call, we haul, that's all. I'll see you on the radio on Thursday nights, 8 to 9, Law of the Land.
Won't that be fun? Yeah,
Yes.
that'll be a lot. You have fun every Thursday night. It's you have a wonderful time. And that's it for the Saturday special. Next week, there goes Ben. And now, Tom's guest is coming in. And we have to do That's All, folks. Okay, here we go.
That's all, folks.
You're listening to KSCO.